Hello and welcome. This is the netarticles.com. I am here with video series on the problems of computer system. This is the first video. The first video is on hardware conflict. Before explaining hardware conflict, let us first understand what is hardware itself. In a technological perspective, hardware are the physical elements that make up a computer or any other electronic device. Computer hardware are the physical parts or component that make up a computer, such as the central processing unit, monitor, hard drive, keyboard, graphics card, sound card, speaker and motherboard. Class of computer hardware. There are two classes of computer hardware: component hardware and peripheral hardware. Component hardware are the internal hardware devices that make up the computer and ensure its functionality, while peripheral hardware are the external hardware devices that are not essential to a computer's functions. Hardware is one part of a computer system. There is also software on another part, which are been instructed to store, runs or carry out specific operation on top of the hardware. We are going to talk more about software in greater detail in the next video. Apart from hardware and software, there is also what is called firmware. Firmware is an intermediary between the hardware and the software. It is the software embedded in a particular hardware to carry out specific low-level instruction. Tempering or making any alteration in firmware seems to be very difficult, if not impossible. Examples of firmware are modem, router, television remote control and many others. Now let's get back to the topic: hardware conflicts. Hardware conflict, also known as resource conflict. It refers to the error that usually occurs or the problematic situation computer usually get itself into when a hardware device in the computer clash or conflict with other hardware devices through the following: interrupt request, IRQ, input-output port, I/O port, or direct memory access, DMA. In other words, hardware conflict refers to the point when a particular hardware in the computer shares or attempts to use the same hardware resources with another device. This would result in a hardware conflict, and at that point the computer will either crash or start to develop some kind of problem. Computers that have International Business Machines IBM compatibility usually have up to 15 IRQ, starting from 00 to 15, and priority are given based on their importance. Interrupt request, abbreviated as IRQ, is a signal that is sent by a device to the computer processor to stop the processor for a moment while it decides which task it should perform next. In other words, IRQ refers to the communication from a device to the computer processor, indicating that attention is required in order to process a particular request. One of the top reasons that causes computer to crashes or run slower is usually as the result of conflicts in the hardware. How hardware conflict with one another. In a computer hardware system, the keyboard driver usually uses IRQ1, the floppy disk drive uses IRQ6, and printer usually connects internally on IRQ7, so also other devices usually assign to their specific IRQ. Each device will seek to dominate a single IRQ for itself. But in a situation whereby device drivers are not well installed or are badly installed, or where there are too many devices in the system, then two or more devices in the system may end up sharing the same IRQ number, or the subsequent driver may attempt to claim or share IRQ of another device. At this point, when the conflicting devices are used at the same time, a problem can occur. This will result to crashing of computer, make it to run slower, unable to receive instruction from its user, or failed to start up. How to view the hardware resources? You can check the hardware resources by going to the device manager and click on the view, hover down to resources by type or resources by connection, and see all the hardware resources. The IRQ is listed serially in line. If you see any number that repeat itself twice, then there is a problem, meaning two devices are sharing the same hardware resources and that constitute hardware conflict. Problems that hardware conflict can cause: it fails to shut down computer, it run computer slower, it suddenly and unnecessarily reboots or shut down computer, it crashes computer, it fails to enter hibernate mode. Solutions: you can try uninstalling the bad or the conflicting driver, disable the bad or the conflicting driver, try updating the driver, go online and get the latest version of the driver from a reliable source with digital signer and install. Remove the hardware device and get another one. Change the position of the slots on the motherboard. Disable onboard devices. Remove other cards from your PC. Move the card to a different slot in your PC. Contact IT technician around to handle the problem expertly. Preventive measures. Don't install outdated driver. Always install drivers from a reliable source. Always use standard and quality hardware devices. This is the end of this video. In the next video we are going to talk on the malfunction of software and other related issues. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.